Hello, and welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining. Today is March, 22nd, 2026. It is Season 5, Episode 11 of Skeptic Generation. I'm Eric Murphy. We need to talk. Hey, you guys. I am so happy to have my friend Atticus on. Atticus, come say hi. Hello.
Hi, everyone.
Hey. So, you were not on last week because you had some cool stuff that you were up to.
I was busy. I was just casually running 3.1 miles with a friend.
How was it?
It was good. I'm 3 minutes faster than my goal time. I've recently taken up running, so that's my new hobby, and also hiking.
I love that. You can do that for the both of us. When you told me, I told you I couldn't run to the store.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Oh, give me just a second. I'm getting some dings, and usually that means that something is going on with the stream. So 2 seconds. Right? You never... Okay, so there's a bit of reverb while I'm talking. I don't know how to fix that.
I don't hear shit.
Okay. Well, y'all, let me know in the chat what's going on. Are you getting an echo or something like that? Let's find out. I don't know. In the meantime, though, hey.
Hi.
Right before the show started, we were having some technical issues. And I'm glad things are looking better so far.
So far, so good.
Yeah, while I dial in like the details, though, you wanted to talk about LGBTQ issues and how things have been changing lately. Yeah, of course. And I kind of wanted to open that up. Like, was there anything in particular you wanted to talk about, or have you been feeling like we're just not paying attention, or have we been forgetting stuff? Like, what's up?
That's a good... Yeah, the whole world is on fire, so it's hard to, constantly be like, look over here. No, okay, now look over there. Everybody has to pay attention to everything all the time. It's exhausting. However, being part of the most openly attacked minority in the country right now, I'm gonna do my part to jingle the keys and make sure everybody's eyes are looking where I kind of need them to look, because I don't think we're paying attention right now.
That's fair.
So we're going to talk about trans legislation, and there are bills that pop up in the news that make people go, ooh, that's crazy, and then they go about their business. But I don't think people really understand how pervasive this whole push is against trans people. So all of this information is going to be taken from translegislation.com. So if anybody's curious, you can go take a look at that website. So the broad overview of these numbers is staggering. There have been 740 bills introduced in 42 states, and these are anti-trans bills. So that averages to 17.6 anti-trans bills introduced per state that has introduced them. I don't know any issue at all that has had 17 bills per legislative session introduced to solve the problem. Not that trans people are a problem. I am a problem, but that's not related to my transness.
You're not a problem. You stop it.
But 17.6 bills per state average. 740 total this legislative session. That's staggering. My jaw dropped when I saw the raw numbers. So I'm going to go through and touch on some of the more noteworthy ones.
Okay.
Specifically that have been passed by state legislatures. So these are the ones that have been passed. These are law in their respective states.
Okay.
And if you want to stop and ask questions, you're welcome to. Yeah. But if I'm just kind of shock and awing you, feel free to let me keep going.
I'm down. Let me just here we go. Trying to adjust my audio here. People are saying that audio is off a little bit, so hopefully this makes it a little bit better. Okay. Yeah, go for it. So,
all right.
Are we starting in a certain state, or are we starting in a certain...
We're starting, from what I can tell, It's mostly just alphabetical.
Okay. And is this in the
Uh,
last like 4 months, 6 months, year, 2 years?
in the 2025-26 legislative session.
Got it.
So the most recent legislative session that is still in process for a lot of states.
Okay.
We're going to start with Iowa. Iowa SF 579 bars local governments from protecting trans people from state government. It's an asterisk in their state legislation for their civil rights laws that says, okay, you can't change any of this for trans people on a local level, which is crazy. Like, who thinks no protections, no one else can take additional action to protect you? That's just malicious.
Yeah.
Indiana HB 1389 allows couples who adopt trans children to force that child to detransition or prohibit them from transitioning. And that sounds
That sounds
maybe to some
horrifying.
audiences, it sounds horrifying to you and me. But for some people who are like, okay, yeah, no, parents have the right for to control their child's well-being or that kind of thing, or do what's in the best interest of the child according to the parent's perspective. The issue with that is with trans people specifically, and I've said this multiple times, but for trans people who don't transition, they die. So if you're stopping a child from transitioning, or just this is just general social transition, this is not like surgeries or hormones. These are cool. Cut your hair. Wear shop for clothes in like the section that's 20 feet to the left of the old section you were shopping in. Wear shoes of a slightly different shade of red saturation, maybe. Like, these are really simple things that are completely reversible, completely temporary if need be. But they save lives. And if they don't, these children die. They can be as young as 8. I knew something was up when I was 8. I didn't know I was trans when I was 8. Just a very distinct feeling of not belonging in my body. So taking the steps to just alleviate that general anxiety can help immensely. It doesn't even have to be anything crazy. But the idea that parents have that control, or think they have that control, or think they have the right to dictate how that person presents themselves or behaves, is giving like Handmaid's Tale trad wife insanity. So we'll move on. We'll move on to Kansas.
Jesus Christ.
Kansas SB 244 invalidates the driver's licenses and birth certificates of any trans person who has updated either of those documents in that state.
I have heard about this one.
This one made some really big headlines, and the consequences of it are far-reaching. So if you pull the thread just a little bit, those documents are needed to get a passport. So if you're trying to leave the United States, good luck if you're in Kansas and a trans person. It is required to get IDs to travel domestically. So if you're trying to immigrate to a new state like Oregon or Vermont or Minnesota, some other like really trans-friendly protective states, good luck. You can't unless you're going to drive, because you can't take rail, because that also requires federal ID.
So is this in the entire state of Kansas?
The entire state of Kansas.
So like just overnight, a huge group of
Invalid.
people had their identifications just made invalid.
Yep. They'll be sent, apparently they will be sent revised copies of their stuff, but now they have documents that don't match anything else.
So I actually did learn a little bit more about this one in particular as well. Because there are a number of trans people who did not change their driver's license to reflect their gender that they've transitioned into. There are a good number of people who kept their driver's license, their gender assigned at birth, and still had their IDs invalidated.
That's stunning.
Which means they were not using a list that just said that your gender had changed. They were sourcing that from one of these companies, that siphons your data. Like,
Yeah. It means there's a different list
yeah,
that we are on. which is chilling.
Sorry if you didn't know that.
No, I didn't know that, but that's really good information for me to know. Wow. I'm left a little speechless on that one. I'm going to pull the thread a little bit more for the Kansas SB 244.
Yeah.
You also need those documents to vote. You need a passport to vote if the SAVE Act passes, and you can't get a passport. Also, the SAVE Act nullifies the right to vote of like any women that have changed their name in the instance of marriage. You know, like normal, traditional people tend to do.
Right.
So that's the federal level. I'm touching that later, but like this is getting to the point where we are being disenfranchised. They don't want our voices heard in the democratic process. And like a lot of us knew this kind of shit was going to happen. It's different when it starts happening. Like you hear them talk about it. You're like, oh, this is going to be bad. We have to fight it. And then these things start to get enacted, and you're like, oh wow, I can't vote. I can't travel.
And this isn't just Kansas. This last October federally, if your passport didn't match your driver's license, your passport became invalidated.
Yep.
Right. I'm sorry, passport driver. If the gender on your passport does not match the gender on your birth certificate, your passport was made invalid this last October. And that's federally, that's across the country. And so now, state by state, at least, we can look at Kansas and go, okay, they're going after just driver's licenses too.
Yeah, because if you can't travel, you can't escape, which is really nefarious. Yeah, so Utah HB 0174 and Wisconsin AB 104 that bans HRT for minors. And keep in mind, these are minors who are actively going through puberty, who are actively going through the wrong puberty. So on a moral level, to just reframe it in a more less like, oh, children shouldn't be making those choices, because that's the knee-jerk reaction a lot of people who are not super familiar with the trans community feel. Imagine somebody forcing a child to go on HRT. The amount of protests and the amount of people up in arms about it would be justifiably crazy.
Yeah.
I would march down the street if somebody was being forcibly transitioned against their will. It's the same thing for HRT for minors. Going through the wrong puberty, when you don't have to go through the wrong puberty, is traumatizing. So the idea that you're banning this life-saving care for minors, horrific. And the idea that it would be considered a crime for any doctor to do, horrific. We're going to wrap up with the state level stuff with Wisconsin AB 100, and it bans trans kids from playing sports with their peers of the same gender in K through 12 and college. So every major study that has come out has proven demonstrably that there's statistically no significant advantage between trans women who have been on HRT for, I think, 2 years, and cis women. That's the long and short of it. There's no concern here. In fact, if you are like 17 or 18 and you've started hormones, it's probably more dangerous for like a trans man who was born female, transitioned to become a man, is on testosterone. It's more dangerous for that person to be playing against cis women, which is what they want, than it is for that trans man to be just playing with cis men. Just like it is more dangerous for a trans woman to play with cis men than it is for a trans woman to be playing with cis women, because that trans woman doesn't have the muscle strength anymore, doesn't have the bone density anymore. It's like trying to advocate that a cis woman play against cis men. And I'm not convinced that there needs to be a gender separation in sports. I don't care about sports that much. That's not my fight. I will let those athletes have that conversation. But the insanity that is happening is either due to intentional ignorance or it's due to intentional malice. Either way, it's unacceptable. So that's the state stuff. So before we go into national level stuff, anything that stands out to you?
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. And that's not all of it. That's,
it is.
Like I said, 740 bills this year.
So why did you pick these instead of one of the other?
They were the ones that were passed. So these are the ones that are reality for a lot of trans people, and they're the ones that I found particularly horrific. These are the ones that ruin lives, that kill people. So when we talk about the idea of a trans genocide, a lot of people may think it's hyperbole. They may think that we're being a little overly sensitive, but this is how it starts. You lose the ability to vote. You lose the ability to travel. You lose the ability to escape or to advocate for yourself at the ballot box. So that's how it starts. And then they take away your hormones. And then they take away the ability for children to transition, which is life-saving care, just like abortion is life-saving care. So control over your bodies. They take away control over your bodies, and then what happens to trans people if they can't transition at the right age? They die. They either die, or they learn to live closeted, and not very many trans people can afford, emotionally, to live very long closeted. It's just a fact of being trans. Imagine if, like, you were a big burly guy who drives an F-150 and you've got 4 or 5 kids and you are MAGA 3 times in a row and someone strapped you down to a gurney and forced you to gender transition. They nuked your testosterone. They gave you chest implants. They gave you sexual reassignment surgery. You're still a dude. No one, that is your gender. But now you don't have the parts that make you you. And you're suddenly very out of sorts with yourself. That would fuck with any cis person. And the lack of empathy there is astounding. Yeah. So it's the cruelty, it's the malice, it's the introductions of people being okay with the start of early stages of genocide, because they just don't understand or refuse to understand or are icked out by the idea that bodies are bodies and bodies can change. And that's really cool. So it's just stunning, the amount of malice that is happening nationally, and I don't think we're paying enough attention to it.
No, I honestly, the thought that pops into my head is that if this degree of malice was put on Republicans, they would be in open civil war.
Yeah, they would, or conservatives, or genuinely.
Yeah.
If any other group was treated like this, and that group happened to be stereotypically cis, het, Christian, and white, there would be bloodshed in the streets for that kind of treatment of people. And it's stunning to me. I try not to pay attention to it too much because I am safe usually in my bubble here in the Pacific Northwest. But when I need to, I pay attention, and it's horrific every single time.
I think I'm just stalling because I really don't want to hear the national stuff. Like, I can feel my head swimming already.
Yeah, the national stuff gets weird. There's only 2 that I pulled up just because they're...
Before we do, let me just take just a second, like, for my own well-being. Hey, you guys, this is a call-in show. If you want to call in, we'd love to hear from you. I would love to hear from you. Please, for the love of God. There's so many of these. I don't know how much I can take. Phone number is 412-SKEPGEN. That's 412-753-7436. Or you can go to tiny.cc/SKEPGEN. That's tiny.cc/SKEPGEN. Call Scritters on the line. We'd love to hear from you. We do have a caller who wants to talk about a state issue.
Let's do it.
Do you want to do that before we get into federal?
Yes, I do.
All right. Let's talk to Jim in Toledo, Ohio. Jim.
Hi. I know you would talk about trans issues when I was calling in, but since I don't know if you already addressed this or if you know about it. I came across a YouTube channel called MS Now. No, I got the wrong one. The one I wanted to talk about is a YouTube channel called Tennessee Brando. And I didn't get the details because I just saw it. But something about Tennessee legislature trying to introduce a bill that will have some effect on trans, but I don't know what it is. And maybe Atticus already knows about.
So Atticus was just saying that there are 700 of them, over 700 of them. So
Wonderful.
yeah, so it's probably on the list. Atticus, are you checking right now?
Yeah, I'm checking right now. There was one. The ones that I have logged here. These are just alphabetical. Let me see the latest date of action.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
So if it help, the channel, it's called Tennessee Brando.
Yeah, a lot. The most recent one is similar to the national one that's coming up. It's banning Medicaid dollars for trans minors.
is that the one you're talking about, Jim?
Well, like I said, I didn't see the video. I only caught the headline. I only saw it like a couple moments ago.
Got
But
it.
so I don't know what the bill number is or what it's about. Just that it might affect the trans community.
Sure.
But in what way,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
So that's actually a really good. So I just pulled up the stats here. Tennessee has had 44 anti-trans bills enacted in 2026. Now remember, the average that we talked about earlier was 17.6. Tennessee has 44. I don't know any issue at all that requires 44 bills in one state. Unless you suck at addressing this issue. Unless you don't actually want to solve the issue.
I'm having trouble getting my head around that number. Jim, did you get that?
Yeah, I should tell you, I don't know if your call screener told you or not, but it seems to be a bad day for my asthma. So if I seem to be having trouble talking, that's it.
No worries.
That's understandable.
So, Jim, did you get what Atticus was saying about what the average
Yeah.
number of anti-trans bills are in a state?
Excuse me, sorry, asthma. Not except for what I told you about Tennessee Brando. But if you talk
Yeah.
about specifics or anything like that, no.
Atticus was giving you more new information.
Yeah.
Okay, and
But I guess I didn't pick up on it, so I'll watch on reruns after it's finished.
okay. Well, I think it's worth restating. Atticus,
Yeah.
So on average, how many bills, anti-trans bills, have states been putting out
So
on average?
across 42 states, on average, the amount of anti-trans legislation introduced is 17.6.
17.6 bills per state on average that are anti-trans legislation. In the
And then
last
Tennessee.
in this year, by the way, this isn't like
this year.
over the last 5 years. This is just this year.
Just this
Okay.
year.
Okay, and Tennessee though is above that 17 average.
Just a little bit.
Just
They've
a
introduced.
skosh.
Yeah, no, they've introduced a measly 44.
44.
So I think 3 times as many if my math is mathing.
So-
over 3 times as many.
So Jim, so when you say that there was an anti-trans bill coming out of Tennessee, what Atticus is telling you is that there are 44 of them.
Oh, yeah, that part I picked up. I heard that part.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's another topic. I don't know if you have time, but it doesn't exactly tie into trans, but it is a woman's issue, pregnancy. I can tell you what the subject is, and then you can decide if we want to talk about. Another YouTube channel, MS Now, and the headline is "A Page Out of the Handmaid's Tale." Ohio Republicans propose bill to track pregnancies.
Yeah. Yeah. I think this is something absolutely worth talking about. I have an uncle who's a fucking racist who, I remember we were talking about, because we have family in Germany, and he said that the German race is getting eliminated. And I was like, what do you mean? And he said, well, there are only like 30-something% of Germans left in Germany. And I didn't understand what that meant. You know, there are only 30-something% of Germans left in Germany? What could he mean by that? What my uncle meant is that the race mixing.
The pure race.
Yeah.
The pure race.
You already knew. I didn't know. I needed it to be explained to me. But yeah.
Yeah.
It was about racial purity. And that means that actual Germans who have different ethnic backgrounds just don't count as German. And so they're not German. this is something that I am so surprised came to the United States. You know,
I can't believe it.
Yeah, and the term being used is heritage American. Heritage Americans are the ones that we want to protect, which are the Western European immigrants. Because they can't.
Not the Native Americans.
No, not the Native Americans.
The Native American.
No, and not the brown people. It needs to be their specific version of white. And this is I feel like this has gotten more and more popular as we've had like South African, especially billionaire influence, right? Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, both of them came from South Africa. Both of them came from an apartheid country. And it's showing. They came with this idea of a white genocide because they come from a place that's very, very upset that they got rid of their racist fucking laws. And so it feels like they helped bring this sentiment. But yeah, this is straight out of the Nazi book. This is not even similar. This is the same thing.
When I see some pictures of Trump, it kind of reminds me of pictures I've seen of Mussolini, where he sticks his chin out. After the pictures I'm talking about? Like, when he looks like a thug, I guess. How he sticks his chin out, and he has that stiff look, like El Duce.
I just think that, it's not, this isn't a Trump thing. This is definitely, this is definitely a...
I actually blame his supporters, because if it wasn't for his supporters, he wouldn't be where he is now. He wouldn't have the power. So I actually blame the supporters more than even Trump, and I hate Trump.
Yeah, Trump is just the person at the front of it, but this ethnic superiority, this racial purity, is 2026, and we're right back to 1926. That's absolutely well. Atticus,
if you want a good resource, like a really good history lesson about the history and roots of fascism in the United States, I'd recommend reading the book Prequel. It's written by Rachel Maddow, who, yes, is an MSNBC commentator, but she also holds a PhD in political science. She has done incredible work on this topic of research. She documents the attempted coup that almost took place in the 40s against FDR. The members of Congress that were writing frequent correspondence to Joseph Goebbels in Germany, sitting members of Congress that were in communication directly with the Third Reich during the Holocaust. This government has its hands, this version of our government has its hands in the Holocaust. So that's a really good book if you want to get read up on exactly how deep this goes. And the conspirators of that coup plot got off scot-free, because when the trial was happening, the judge died, and they didn't have the ability to try it again because it was so publicized, it was so widespread, it was so widely known that they just could not get a fair jury trial. So they went off scot-free. There was no punishment. There was no accountability. Genuinely stunning, but it's a great book. It's a really easy read, and it's really, really informative.
I'll look it up along with The Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah.
Jim,
there's one more thing. It's not enough for a topic, so not a discussion. It's just something I came across. I didn't get the channel number. It's a short called Top FEMA, F-E-M-A, Top FEMA Official Says He Teleported. And he's out there. I mean, this guy's in orbit. It'd be funny if it wasn't serious.
I've heard that. I heard that headline. That's one that I think I need to do a little bit more reading on before I talk about it. But yeah, that's.
And I know you have other callers.
Yeah. It definitely just feels like this is what happens when the fringe conspiracy gets put in charge. They find other fringe conspiracy people to put in charge, and.
I like stories like these Darwin Awards and the world's dumbest criminals and things like that. And when they're really out there, I have a saying, it's got to be something in the air. I don't think that's a joke anymore. Maybe there is something in the air.
Yeah, it's racism. There's racism in the air. There's paranoia, and there is
All these.
a lot.
I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist myself, but when you think of all these fumes and smoke coming from factories and plants, who knows what chemicals we're taking in?
I don't think you need to look that far, honestly. All you got to do is look at the like Fox News, right? When news got turned into entertainment to the degree that it has been turned into, it became I think we're gonna finish this though. After
I was going to say, I'll let you go.
Yeah, it sounds like you should drink some water. I hope you feel better, man.
Oh, thanks, I appreciate it. Yeah. Have a nice day.
You too.
Bye. Thanks, Jim.
I feel bad for Jim.
Yeah. I'll put a bow on that and just say that it's nothing in the water, it's capitalism. Plain and simple. It's those with power trying to take advantage of and scare those without power. It's those who are smart and have the resources and know how these types of things work, taking advantage of those who have faith, who don't really understand the workings of infrastructure or bureaucracy or the economy. And taking advantage of these people is a multi-billion-dollar-a-year industry, as indicated by Elon Musk or Donald Trump or Peter Thiel. It's capitalism. It's always capitalism. Always unmask it, and it's always capitalism.
Right. That's yeah. When you keep people constantly scared, they spend more money.
Yep.
So let's just do that. Let's just keep them always scared. And then people lose faith in the institutions that they go to reliably get information. And those institutions justifiably lose that faith. And we wind up here.
People have got to learn to be okay with the words I don't know. And that's the hardest part about what's happened in the last 6 years in this country. We just didn't know for a whole lot of it. And honestly, that's okay, but it's frustrating.
It does feel, if anything, at least that, like, there's a light on it. Mm-hmm. That, I'm in my upper 30s. And for most of my life, cartoon shows had Captain Planet and shit like that. Like, you had these kind of multi-ethnic, diverse groups, and racism just didn't exist anymore. It was just not a problem. We elected a black president in 2008, and it felt like there couldn't be enough people to support this kind of shit anymore. And I think that they took advantage of the obscurity. But we need to stop pretending that we don't live in that fucked up world still, because we do. And now we just get to see it plainly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I'm ready for federal.
Federal is a less exhaustive list, but it's just as alarming.
Okay.
These have not been passed. These have been proposed. And it's mostly because of the Senate filibuster. So, love it or hate it, the filibuster is consequential. US HB 498 bans Medicaid for use in HRT for minors, which means it adversely affects poor and non-white trans children. So,
and not just trans children either.
Adults.
Well, not just adult. I was thinking about precocious puberty, right? Yeah. If your child starts going through puberty early, which happens, it's not uncommon to be put on hormones, be put on like blockers to forestall their puberty until they reach an age where their body's ready to handle that puberty. But that is still HRT for children.
It is.
Anyway, sorry.
And it helps his kids. And that's the weird part. Like, what are you doing? You don't know what you're talking about. Stop legislating on it.
Yeah.
You don't know the consequences of what you're doing because you don't understand the issue. You're trying to take advantage of people who just don't know better. and they shouldn't have to know better. Like, Maureen out in like rural Ohio doesn't need to know about sexual reassignment surgery if it doesn't affect her. Like, she doesn't need to be scared out of her wits, because unless I talk in public, I get mammed constantly. And that's a choice that I make. I choose not to voice train. I have voice trained. I can speak in a more feminine voice. I don't think it's necessary. I don't think there's a wrong way to be a woman. But like, I get mammed. I get hit on by dudes. I present very femme, and I pass for the most part a lot in public unless I talk. So if I walk by Maureen, or if I am next to her in the bathroom washing my hands, she won't know. She doesn't need to know. You're taking advantage of a poor woman who does not know better. Yeah. So there's that. And the last one with the most far infuriating thing for me is
it gets worse.
Yeah, this one's less nefarious and more nitpicky, but I'm a stickler for the details. It's US HB 1134, which is the Passport Sanity Act, is what it's called.
The Passport Sanity Act.
Yeah,
and this is federal legislation.
X markers on passports. It's just weird, because up until 1977 we didn't have gender markers on passports. And would you like to know why we added gender markers, Eric?
Because the commies.
It's to help ID folks using their visible gender. That was the memo used specifically when we introduced gender markers into IDs. Visible gender, not sex, not biological sex, not sex assigned at birth or gender assigned at birth.
No.
Visible gender.
Well,
if I have an M on my fucking passport, someone's gonna be confused. So it's just, ignorance of history is causing a huge issue. And it's because they don't give a shit about history. They give a shit about acquiring power and acquiring money and taking advantage of those that they can get it from. Ergo, Maureen in Ohio. Sorry if there's a Maureen in Ohio, but it's just stunning.
I'm sure there are many Maureens in Ohio.
We are the lever that they are using to gather power and money. And I appreciate that they think I'm so powerful. I do. But for the love of God, lay off. Yeah, there's two notes that I have left.
Okay.
And these are just bullet point things that I've said on the show before. These aren't going to be breaking news to anybody. But parents don't have a right to stop their children from transitioning. Parents don't have rights. Parents have responsibilities to their child. Parents are raising people. These are people, future adults, future voters, future workers, future parents. People need to take that responsibility a little bit more seriously than they do. So to stop them from transitioning is child neglect. It's the same thing as forcing your child to transition. You don't have rights over how your child presents. You don't have rights over how your child, who your child is attracted to, or who your child expresses themselves to be. You have a right to protect them. You have a responsibility and a duty to protect them. And if you don't, shame on you. You're a bad parent. Like, that's the binary there. Protect your child or don't. Good parent or bad. And then trans women, they just do belong in sports. Like, that's my soapbox. They do. There's no difference. No difference at all. And if you think there is, it's because you're uncomfortable with trans women. For what? Do some research. Look into that. Go to therapy. Let's find out why you're so uncomfortable with trans women existing.
Yeah.
Is it because you think trans women are men, and therefore you know that men treat women poorly? Maybe.
You know what's interesting is, like, I don't know. I've talked about this before, that like when I was in sports, the sports that I were in was mixed gender. It was wrestling. That was mixed gender in high school. And like, to each sport, they have their own governing authorities that they use to make those decisions, and I don't know how those distinctions are. Yeah, it's fucking nuts.
I think it'd be more sensical to have people compete in like weight classes rather than gender classes.
Yeah.
I think more people would medal I think more people would be able to claim expertise, and it would be a more fair competition overall. Team sports, that would be really difficult. But and again, I'm not really what I would
Well,
consider an athlete.
I mean, that's
but
what. Oh, you are now. You're going into doing your
I am
5Ks
now,
and shit.
apparently.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. When I wrestled, that was all weight class. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was it. And every time I went to Fillmore High School, and anytime that we went against Santa Paula, everyone who weighed 145 just got sick that day. Because the girl at the 145 level from Santa Paula went national with, I mean, she was so good. Unbelievably good. Give me 2 seconds. I apologize. I had something going on. Yeah. The gender piece didn't matter. You know, she wiped the floor with everyone who ever showed up. But I don't know. I when you talk about like a parent's responsibility to their children, it also makes me think, you know, I really don't think that it is Christian to have this degree of hostility. I don't. You know, I look at my own mother, who is very Christian, or less Christian than she used to be. But she always kind of aspired to this concept of agape love. Do you remember agape love?
It sounds familiar. I can't recall it off the top of my head.
So the idea is that there were different kinds of love, right? You have your romantic love, you have the love you have for a friend, you have the love for family, and then you have the love that God has for humanity. And the love that God has for humanity is supposed to be unending, unconditional. And my mom aspires to agape love for her children. And so it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's not a permission. It's not a like, I love you even though X, Y, Z. It's an all-encompassing love. And it's one that has been like a North Star for my mother. That when she found that the church was trying to come between her and her children, she used that to guide her away from that church. And I'm really, really grateful for it. And that has, I think, shifted my view of Christianity into, you know, you don't exclude your children, you know. It blows my mind, and I don't think that it is a thing that you can hide behind if you're religious. You know, if you say you're Christian, cool, love your children. And if you don't blame it on Christianity. You can be the kind of Christian who's inclusive and accepting and loving of your fucking children. Just own up to the fact that you're a piece of shit. And if you disagree, call. We want to hear from you. I want to tell you you're a piece of shit to your fucking face. That said, here's the phone number. Phone number is 412-SKEPGEN. That's 412-753-7436. Or you can go to tiny.cc/SKEPGEN. That's tiny.cc/SKEPGEN. Call screeners on the line. We want to hear from you. Jesus, Atticus, that was a lot that you dropped on me.
It was. It was a lot that I discovered last night at 10:30 in the evening.
So what was this website that you went to?
Translegislation.com.
Holy shit.
It's great. It has tabs on the rise of anti-trans bills in the United States. It's really great. It actually has a year-by-year track of how many bills got introduced. Like in 2015, there were 14 bathroom bills and like 2 healthcare bills and 2 education bills. That's it. There's less than 20 anti-trans bills in 2015. And
total
across
and
all
in
the 2025 states. Over the entire year of 2025 there were about 1,000. 2026 we're at 740 so far. So far.
It's March.
It's March. Like, I don't know what makes us so appealing to these
So hold on.
Christian conservatives.
There were over 1,000 anti-trans bits of legislation in 12 months.
About 1,000.
About 1,000.
Yeah.
And in these last 3 months, we're up over 700, you said?
Yeah. So the actual stats here are in 2025, 1,022 bills were introduced in 49 states. The only state that didn't have an anti-trans bill introduced was Vermont. 126 of them passed. 491 of them are still active. 405 of them have failed. So not even half of them have failed. Most of them are still active in their legislatures.
Well, and the number you gave for 2025, I'm sure it isn't just what was passed. It was just all of the ones that were brought up, right?
All of them, yeah.
So we're going to lap 2025 by
Yeah, we are.
June.
Yeah, easy.
And
especially with how insane it's getting, because it's reaching a crescendo point. We're not even there. We're 3 or 4 months into 2026. It's going to get louder. It's going to get worse, and we're not even a third of the way through the year.
Okay, so I think we have people, hopefully, justifiably upset. Where can we send them?
I hate to be a broken record, but go to the ballot box. You have to vote. You have to.
Okay, but they're not going to. They can't vote tomorrow. So what can they do between now and November?
Knock doors. Get involved with your local political organization, whether it's the Working Families Party or an independent party or an independent candidate or a Democratic candidate. I know everybody hates the Democrats, but they have the most institutional structures to latch onto to get this shit done. And so political problems require political responses. In Oregon specifically, I'm a little displeased with
I actually want to push back. Do you think this is a political problem?
I do.
You don't think this is a cultural problem?
I think it's both, but I think the way you solve it is political. But then again, here's the thing. I'm a political scientist, so the way I would solve this problem is with politics. Just like the way a surgeon would solve an ailment is usually with surgery.
Okay. So...
Because I can't change the culture. I can make it politically disadvantageous for people to say these things out loud. And if you say these things out loud, if you act on them, if you introduce legislation, if you vote for that legislation, lose your seat. Go fuck yourself. Like, there need to be consequences for it. And the most direct, easy way for those consequences to be seen is voting.
Okay. So when is the soonest election that people can be involved with?
Probably their primary election. So this is the primary for the midterms. It's when everybody, every House of Representative on the federal level is going to be up for re-election. A third of the senators are going to be up for re-election, and then most people's state reps are going to be up for re-election. And when I say state reps, I mean their House reps and their Senate reps in their home state. Maybe their governor, maybe their state level executives. So it depends state by state. You need to go check that for yourself. There is a website that I like to use called Vote Save America. It's put on by the Pod Save America bros, but it's a really, really in-depth and extensive voting website. And it's, from what I can tell, it has like obviously a bend, but it's accurate. And it shows you how you can sign up, what elections are coming up, what you need to look out for, the candidates that have been announced, when those elections are. It's your one-stop shop for any election that you have. So get involved. Find a candidate that you like. I like Fora for Oregon, for example. She's an independent trans woman who's also a rabbi. I love unique fucking candidates like that. I gave a little bit of money. I am probably going to donate some time here pretty soon. Here's the thing. I don't expect her to win. But I think her voice is important, and so I want her in the conversation. That's what it's about. Get these people's voices heard. And if you yourself have a voice, you should consider running for office.
And if you don't want to run for office, I have a couple other suggestions.
Eric.
There are a number of organizations that are helping to move people across state lines so that they can get the care that they desperately need, be that gender affirming care or abortion needs. Find them, look them up, check them out in your area. There are communities, your communities, that need you. There are people who are in this isn't in a bubble. And I think, if anything, Atticus, you pointing out just how many states is that again? 26?
It's 42 states.
42 states!
This year. Last year it was 49.
Oh, that's okay. Well, fuck.
If you're in Vermont, go fuck yourself for being so cheery and wonderful.
So, if you are in the United States, shit's going on in your state. I would understand writing your representatives. I would understand primarying and knocking on doors, sure. And I would also understand there's too much time that's going to pass between now and the next election for you to wait for that to be the thing you do. So get involved. If anything, let these political parties follow the feet of the people whose votes they're going for. Right? If they see that this is where our attention is, I guess.
And you can walk and chew gum at the same time. There are issues with ICE agents and immigrants being wrongly detained. There are issues with children going hungry. You can do all of these things at once. And honestly, if you're annoying about it, your state representative will hear you, because the people that call into the state representative's house are people who are like, yes, I don't want a new housing shelter put in because it would affect my property value. It's those kind of annoying Karens. So if you break that cycle and hey, let's actually not attack the most vulnerable population in the country right now. Let's maybe, feed the hungry and house the homeless and just leave trans people the fuck alone. They will hear you. That makes a sizable difference. I say it and it falls on deaf ears because nobody believes it, but it makes a difference. I've been doing this for over 10 years now. Calling your representative is the most effective way for this to happen, or email them. They track all of it. They have to track all of it.
So I have another question for you.
Yeah.
I think that if we look at I don't know, our new war with Iran that we're in. Mm-hmm. Trump did not go to Congress for that.
He did not.
The establishment of new federal agencies and the selective disbursement of congressional funding to states and to other agencies has been entirely taken, right? Mm-hmm. And that's not legally what's supposed to happen, right?
Right.
That's not constitutionally what's supposed to happen.
No, it's very illegal.
So what do you do when one side wants to do all of the constitutional things to get things fixed and the other is willing to be unconstitutional in the way that they break these things?
You have to vote for the side that will want to. So there's two sides. Two sides are going to have their primary elections. And so you have the Democrats that are going to choose between establishment and then fighter. I choose the bar fights. That's why the primaries are way more important than the general. The primaries are where you choose your fighter. The general is where you go to the fight. For example, there's a primary in Maine where 78-year-old Maine governor Janet Mills is running against 40-something-year-old political upstart lobster farmer Graham Plattner, who's had some controversy. We're not going to shy away from that. He had a genuinely disgusting tattoo on his body that he got in a couple of years after he left the Marines. He's left some awful Reddit comments back in his internet edgelord days. I think he's addressed them well. to the point where I would probably consider voting for him because he's a fighter. He's choosing not to support Chuck Schumer if the Democrats retake the Senate. So you need to choose your fighter now during the primaries. That's how you get Chuck Schumer out of the the leadership chair. That's how you get AIPAC out of Democratic politics. That's how you get people who are going to go to the mat and get dirty with the Republicans who are choosing to get dirty and break the law. You have to get fighters. You can't have these elderly senior citizens that are hoping that the world is going to go back to the way it was in 2014 and the fever's going to break the same way that Joe Biden did. You have to choose a fighter.
Would you vote for someone who said that they would break the law as a Democrat?
Yes.
Same.
And the reason because the people who were hiding the Jews during the Holocaust broke the law.
Yeah.
Those are the people who should be in charge. If the law is unjust, if the law is immoral, break the law. It's break the law. If it's unjust and immoral, if it's hurting people, help. It's for me it's that simple, and I know it's not that simple for everybody. But
well, I think that structurally, we take a look at laws and we view them, at least for the longest time I did, as this kind of codification of the moral ethic of a people, right? You know, you have a group of people who want to enforce what they think should be the society that they live in. And so we make that assumption of laws that is just what the laws are. It's us having codified what we view as the best world to live in. And we don't have
if
that
your
right
representative hasn't been arrested, they're probably not worthy of being your representative. They might be. There are circumstances where sure, but Bernie Sanders was arrested protesting housing discrimination at Chicago, University of Chicago. John Lewis was arrested many times during his time in the civil rights era. Break the law if it's unethical or if it's unjust. It's. I would hope that anybody who's willing to put their right hand in the air and pledge to uphold the Constitution of the United States for all of its flaws and issues, I would hope that they would also fight for the people that the Constitution represents just as hard.
Cheers. Okay. I think I need to talk to you more often. I need to talk to you more often because I if we took back the Senate, right? If we took the House and the Senate during, this fall, the presidency is already not giving a fuck about the House and the Senate. So what would have Democrats in the House and Senate do there?
Great question. So right now, it's rumored that Sam Alito is eyeing retirement. It's not confirmed, but he's getting up there. He knows that the general populace is relatively dissatisfied with the way that Republicans are handling their governance responsibilities these last 2 years. So Alito knows that if he's gonna retire, I think he's almost 80 now. He either needs to do it now or he needs to wait potentially another 4 to 6 years. And if he does wait 4 to 6 years, there's a risk he dies in office and gets replaced by a Democrat anyway, or replaced by a Democratic appointed justice. So if we retake the Senate, no judges get confirmed. No Trump appointed federal judges get confirmed. None of them. That's especially true if you replace Chuck Schumer as leader. So Elizabeth Warren endorsed Graham Plattner in the main Senate primary because he does not support Chuck Schumer as leader, because Janet Mills, who would be the oldest freshman senator ever elected at almost 80 herself,
Jesus
which
Christ.
is insane. Go retire. Go play with your grandchildren. Let other people have the reins. But that's what happens. You stop filling the federal judges. So as vacancies start to acquire, because the federal bench is thousands of seats deep, you start creating vacancies that get to be replaced by a Democrat when the Democrat is back in office. And Joe Biden replaced hundreds of judges on the federal bench, because that's what happened when we retook the Senate last time in Trump's last 2 years. If they retake the House, you have investigations up the ass. You get Trump being the first president that's impeached for a third time, potentially a fourth, because he's not going to stop at just 3. You're going to get contempt referrals.
What's the usefulness of impeachment if
it gums up the works and it distracts from the bully pulpit? When you pull the attention away from Trump, Trump lashes out like a child, and he loses credibility, and he is looked more poorly upon by the general public. If you look at the polling data, whenever that happens, he gets more erratic. People trust him less. The economy does worse. People want him out faster. So once you start pulling the attention from Trump, he's a toddler. He cannot stop himself from wanting more attention. So he will do more outlandish things to get the attention back. And history has shown this time and time again. So you get more investigations. You get more subpoenas. If you're subpoenaing administration officials, then they can't actually do their job if they're sitting in closed testimonies for 12 hours a day for weeks at a time. So it gums up the works. It slows everything down.
Another question. So if Biden replaced a bunch of judges, how come he didn't replace Eileen Cannon?
Great, because that is a lifetime appointment, and you can't force a federal judge off the bench. That seat would have needed to be vacant in order for him to replace it. So if the seat's vacant, he can appoint judges to replace those vacant seats, but he cannot pull sitting judges from the bench.
Got it. So that's not replacement. That's an appointment.
Yeah. Okay. But you can refill the bench and remake the federal bench with those vacancies, depending on how many vacancies there are. Those are reverberations that have decades of consequences, because a federal judgeship can very quickly become a circuit judgeship, which can quickly become a Supreme Court nominee. Very quickly. We are talking within the matter of like one generation, like 10 to 15 years. That federal nominee can become a Supreme Court nominee within 10 to 15 years on that bench. So these are really consequential appointments that need to not be filled, which is why it's important that we retake the Senate. Even at a 51-seat majority, that nullifies J.D. Vance's tie-breaking vote in the Senate. If we have 50-50, it's still a Republican Senate.
Do you think that the Senate and the House have the ability to adjudicate war crimes?
No, but I think they have the ability to refer it to The Hague. And I think The Hague has the ability to adjudicate war crimes. So that's when we start to get into really unprecedented territory. What happens when you have a war criminal as president, and what happens when the House and the Senate refer that president to The Hague? The Justice Department can't do anything because they have a standing memo not to prosecute sitting presidents. So that's when you kind of run into people needing to have a backbone, and you're not going to get that with elderly Chuck Schumer, who refuses to take a side on anything and writes strongly worded letters. You want someone who's going to hold people accountable, and you need to choose a better fighter, which is why the primaries are so important.
I would say that I would only want to vote for a Democrat if they publicly sign on that they would defer the war crimes to The Hague.
Yeah. It's genuinely stunning that this very straightforward issue is not.
And to be clear, we've had war criminals as presidents a lot in the last 100 years. We've definitely had sitting war criminals as presidents. I'm hoping.
I think every president this century has committed what would be considered a war crime.
Hold on. Biden did it with the way that they treated immigrants, right? Mm-hmm. Obama did it with the drone strikes against American citizens on foreign soil. Mm-hmm. Bush did it with
500,000 Iraqis.
Yep. Clinton. What am I missing for? You know what though? If I continue going back. Atticus, we're the bad guys.
We are the bad guys, but we don't have to be. We can. So my big picture, if I could run a heritage Foundation-esque program to remake the course of the United States over 50 years and like fund it, it would be to eliminate the Senate and go to a parliamentary system with multi-member districts. But that's me. That's just me.
No,
and it's doable. That's the thing. It's doable.
Honestly, I'm at the moment more in favor of balkanization. Okay, what are your thoughts on balkanization?
Hold on, I'm asking ChatGPT. I'm kidding. I think there's a reasonable case to be made for balkanization, which, for those who are like I was 10 seconds ago, it's the breakup of a larger country into smaller independent states. I think that would work. Honestly, I don't see the reason why the United States needs to be. Like, it's cool that we are a nation of different opinions, and it's most of the time cool that happens, and that we're a melting pot in our history. But here's the thing: it's been co-opted by the tyranny of the minority. The fact that a congressional representative in Wyoming has like 3 times as much power as a congressional representative in California, and that California representative has 3 times as many constituents to deal with as the congressional representative in Wyoming is stupid. Yeah. The fact that Wyoming has the same number of senators as California is stupid. It does not work in our modern context. So I'm partial to the. I can see the idea, the reason of.
Well, also
the United States balkanizing.
I do think that, like, when we think about the federal government, what is a federation but a collection of autonomous states agreeing to, specific like the EU's got that, right? It's a federation of countries.
Yeah. The issue that I would run into is that there are very, very many millions of Americans who would not want to be part of the New South Rising, for example. Like that block of Gulf states, that would probably end up being together because on their own, none of them have enough money to be able to stand as their own nation. There's millions of Americans that would want to get the fuck out.
Yeah.
And I have issues with abandoning those Americans, which is my one opposition to balkanization, because I don't think they would want those people to leave, because that'd be a huge hit to their economy.
Well, but so the thing is that, like, the benefit of having smaller countries is that it's easier to leave, and also you could conceivably then repatriate, right? You could conceivably say, okay, we're going to create programs as a country to move people who want to be here and people who don't want to be here out.
That's the thing. I don't think a lot of the more conservative blocks in that type of situation would let people leave very easily. I don't think that Georgia, for example, would let most of the black belt leave if they wanted to.
But the United States isn't letting trans people leave.
True.
So
that's how we get. Honestly, if you pull the thread long enough, I think that's how we get back into a civil war. I think if it could be peacefully done and people could be reasonable about it, it has a lot of credence. But I don't think that with those in charge of how the states would break up into blocks.
Well, I mean, the Balkan states went when the USSR crumbled. Mm-hmm. It wasn't necessarily because they all decided to go to war with each other. They all did independently afterward, but it.
And we got what a genocide out of it, 2 genocides out of it when that happened. I mean, the price in blood might, but it's too high for my. I'm a pacifist by nature.
I think that choosing to stay where we're at is not a pacifist choice. I think that there's a price in blood, and I think that people like you and I are paying it.
I certainly am. Yeah. You certainly are.
Yeah. So, yay, Mexican and a trans person in 2026.
The 2 genders.
2 genders, Mexican and trans. All right. I'm not seeing more calls coming in. I'm down to go and hang out in the after show for a little bit.
Yeah.
I will wait to see if we get any other calls coming in. I have no idea what people have been saying in this in the chat. We haven't gotten any super chats, which is just fine. I would like to actually give a bit of an update. So Elliot and I got together and we recorded our second meeting where we talk about the myth of Sisyphus. I just need to edit it, put it up on Patreon. So that will be there and available to you in the next couple of days if you're a patron. If you want to support the show, please consider becoming a patron. Patreon.com/Skeptic Generation. That's Patreon.com/Skeptic Generation. I'm really grateful now that I get to do a show where I have people who I love talking to, who I can have differences of opinion with, and also, God, great conversations. I'm really happy to have them. I'm really, really glad that you're here with us. So thank you guys. Thank you to our volunteers. Y'all are amazing. Atticus, where can people find you?
You can find. I'm slowly not using TikTok anymore, so you can find me on Blue Sky at atticuslind.bluesky.social.
Nice. Atticus, thank you so much for hanging out with me.
This was a good show. I needed to let off that steam about like what the fuck is happening this year.
Yeah.
That's why I'm choosing to run actually so often. I'm training to run for my life when the Christian fascists come for me. You got to be funny. You got to make it funny.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Please be safe. Be good to one another. Until next time, I'm Eric Murphy.
I'm Atticus Lynn.
This is Skeptic Generation.
And I'm glad we had this talk.
Damn straight.